Silence is not empty. It is where the sharpest minds are forged. Most people fear being alone with their thoughts. They reach for noise, distraction, constant stimulation. But there is a different kind of woman, a woman who steps away, not to escape the world, but to understand it more clearly. In the Shaolin path, we are taught that stillness is not weakness. It is power in its purest form. When the body is still, the mind begins to reveal what is hidden. And highly intelligent women, often without realizing it, follow this same discipline. They choose solitude, not because they feel disconnected, but because they are deeply connected to their own inner world. In that quiet space, they observe their emotions without reacting. They question their beliefs instead of defending them. They refine their thoughts before they speak. Psychology calls this deep cognitive processing. In simple words, they think before they act. But what is rarely spoken about is the cost of this ability. The world may misunderstand them, their silence may be mistaken for distance, their depth may feel intimidating to others. In this video, you will discover the hidden habits that set highly intelligent women apart. Habits that are often seen as strange, but are actually signs of inner mastery. You will begin to understand why they move differently, think differently, and live differently. Stay with me until the end, because what you will learn is not just about them, it may reveal something about you. Welcome to Heng Chronicles. Subscribe and begin the journey inward. A quiet mind is not one without thoughts, but one that does not obey every thought. Many people move through life accepting ideas as they are given. They inherit beliefs from family, society, and experience, and rarely stop to examine them. But there is a different pattern you will notice in highly intelligent women. They do not accept easily. They pause. They question. They look beneath the surface of what is said, and even beneath the surface of what they themselves believe. In the Shaolin tradition, we train not only the body, but the mind that guides it. A thought arises, but it is not immediately trusted. It is observed like a passing cloud. Is it true? Is it useful? Is it shaped by fear or by clarity? This is the discipline they practice, often without naming it. What makes them different is not only that they challenge the world around them, it is that they turn this same sharp awareness inward. They question their own reactions. They doubt their first conclusions. They understand that the mind can create illusions just as easily as it can reveal truth. In mindfulness, this is known as detachment from thought. Not suppression, not control, but observation. They do not become every emotion they feel. They do not become every idea they think. Instead, they examine, refine, and sometimes release. This creates a rare balance. On one side, mental clarity, the ability to see things as they are without distortion. On the other, intellectual humility, the understanding that no matter how much one knows, there is always more to uncover. And in this balance, their strength quietly grows. To walk a different path is to accept that not everyone will recognize where you are going. Highly intelligent women often see the world through a lens that others do not share. They notice patterns that remain invisible to most. They question what others accept. They move with a quiet intention that does not always need explanation. And because of this, they are often misunderstood. There comes a moment when they realize that being understood by everyone is not only impossible, it is unnecessary. Instead of exhausting themselves trying to translate their depth into simpler forms, they begin to conserve their energy. They let go of the need to be constantly seen, constantly validated. This is where discipline begins. Not the discipline of action, but the discipline of identity. In ancient teachings, there is a quiet strength in detachment, not indifference, but freedom. Freedom from the endless cycle of seeking approval. Freedom from shaping oneself to fit into expectations that do not align with truth. They begin to stand firm in who they are even when others project confusion, doubt, or judgment. They listen, but they are not easily shaken. They reflect, but they do not lose themselves in the opinions of others. Psychology describes this as self-concept clarity, a clear and stable understanding of one's own identity. But beyond the definition, it is a lived experience. It is the ability to remain steady when the outside world becomes uncertain. And so, what once felt like isolation transforms into quiet confidence. They no longer chase understanding. They embody it within themselves. What the eye sees is often only the surface, but a trained mind learns to notice what hides beneath. Their awareness is quiet, yet precise. In a conversation, they hear more than words. A slight pause, a change in tone, a hesitation that others overlook. These details do not escape them. They observe how people move, how they react, how patterns repeat over time. Not with judgment, but with attention. This kind of observation is not accidental. It is the result of presence. While many are lost in distraction or busy preparing their next response, they remain anchored in the moment. Their focus is not scattered. It is steady, like still water reflecting everything clearly. In ancient practice, this is the essence of mindfulness, to be fully here without drifting into past or future, to witness reality as it unfolds without distortion. When the mind is not clouded by noise, it begins to recognize subtle truths. Small inconsistencies reveal larger patterns. Emotions become easier to read. Intentions become clearer. Over time, this awareness sharpens into something powerful. Pattern recognition grows naturally. They begin to connect events, behaviors, and outcomes with quiet accuracy. At the same time, their emotional intelligence deepens. They sense what others feel, even when it is not spoken. They respond with care, not impulse. But this ability is not about control. It is about understanding. They do not observe to manipulate, but to see clearly. And in seeing clearly, they move through the world with a kind of calm precision that others often cannot explain, but always feel. There is a quiet moment many experience, standing among others, yet feeling slightly apart, as if their inner world speaks a different language. In crowded rooms, where conversations move quickly and lightly, they may find themselves observing more than participating. Not because they believe they are above others, but because what fulfills them lies elsewhere. Their thoughts travel deeper, their questions reach further. They are drawn to meaning, to truth, to understanding, while the world around them often moves on the surface. This feeling can be confusing at first. It may even be mistaken for distance or pride, but in reality, it is neither. It is the natural result of seeing life through a different lens. When values shift toward growth, awareness, and depth, certain environments begin to feel unfamiliar, even if they were once comfortable. Ancient teachings speak of this path with great clarity. To walk a path of mastery is not to follow the crowd, but to step away from it, not in rejection, but in alignment. The journey inward often creates distance from what is outward, and in that distance, a new understanding begins to form. There is discipline in accepting this, the discipline to not force belonging where it does not exist, the patience to stand in one's own space without rushing to fill the silence. Over time, what once felt like isolation begins to transform. It becomes a quiet strength, a sign that growth is taking place, a reminder that not all paths are meant to be shared, and not all journeys are meant to be understood by everyone. The mind does not always rest when the world becomes quiet. For some, silence only makes the thoughts louder. Highly intelligent women often live with this constant movement inside their minds. They analyze conversations long after they end. They replay decisions, examine possibilities, and imagine outcomes that others never consider. At first, this depth of thinking does not feel like a gift. It feels heavy. It can create tension, uncertainty, even anxiety when the mind refuses to slow down. But with time, something begins to change. Instead of trying to stop the thoughts, they learn to step back from them. They begin to notice that not every thought deserves attention. Some are only echoes of fear. Others are habits formed by past experiences. Slowly, the mind becomes less of a storm and more of a place that can be observed. This is where discipline enters. Ancient practices have always taught that mastery is not about silencing the mind by force, but about understanding it. When awareness grows stronger, reaction becomes weaker. Thoughts still appear, but they no longer control every emotion or decision. What once felt like overthinking starts to transform. The same deep analysis becomes sharper and more useful. Instead of getting lost in endless loops, they begin to see patterns, risks, and opportunities with clarity. The mind that once created confusion now becomes a tool for strategy, and in this quiet transformation, something powerful emerges. The noise does not disappear completely, but it loses its control. What remains is a calm, focused awareness that turns deep thinking into strength rather than burden. There comes a point where saying yes to everything begins to feel like losing yourself. Highly intelligent women come to understand this, often through experience. They notice how easily time is given away, how energy is drained by unnecessary demands, how peace is disturbed by things that do not truly matter. And slowly, they begin to change how they respond. They start to say no, not with anger, not with resistance, but with clarity, a quiet, firm refusal that does not seek approval. At first, this feels uncomfortable. It may disappoint others, it may create distance, but they begin to see that every yes given without intention carries a hidden cost. In ancient discipline, mastery is not only about what you do, it is about what you allow. Every influence, every relationship, every commitment shapes the mind and spirit. Without awareness, the inner world becomes crowded and unstable. With awareness, space is protected. This is not selfishness, it is alignment. They choose carefully where their time goes, who receives their attention, and what deserves their energy. They understand that peace is not something found outside, but something maintained within. Psychology speaks of this as emotional regulation and self-respect, the ability to respond instead of react, to set boundaries without guilt, to honor one's own limits without needing constant validation. Over time, this practice becomes natural. They no longer explain every decision. They no longer feel the need to justify their boundaries. What once felt difficult becomes a quiet standard, and in that space they protect. Their clarity deepens, their strength grows, and their inner world remains undisturbed by what does not belong. What we have explored today is not about being different for the sake of it, but about cultivating a life of depth and awareness. Highly intelligent women teach us that strength lies in quiet observation, in valuing truth over approval, and in choosing reflection over reaction. Their habits are not eccentricities, they are practices of inner mastery, subtle disciplines that shape a mind capable of clarity, resilience, and growth. In your own life, you can take a page from this path. Allow yourself moments of stillness, question your assumptions, protect your energy, and observe your thoughts without judgment. Small, mindful steps create lasting change, and the more you practice, the more your inner world becomes a place of calm strength. In a world that often moves too fast, these lessons remind us that true power grows quietly, patiently, and with intention. Thank you for joining us on this journey of insight and reflection. If you found value in this exploration, please like this video and subscribe to Heng Chronicles, where we continue to uncover wisdom that guides the mind and nourishes the soul.